Hello students, welcome to Science and Tech series with Dr.Vivek Rana. Hope your preparation is on right track. Topic for today's discussion is once again from Science and Tech. In last lecture we have covered small modular reactors from nuclear energy. Today the theme is from medicine health section, which once again is a quite important theme, especially from prelims perspective. And we live in post-pandemic times, so we have seen how vaccines hog limelight. Even in last to last mains UPSC, there was a full-fledged question on different types of vaccines which were used to mitigate the COVID-19. So in today's lecture, we will be decoding two basic vaccines which are different in actions, because we have seen a spurt of cases in some developed countries, especially US, UK, Israel, and of the polio virus, because in unvaccinated individuals. So the dream to eradicate this dreaded disease remains elusive for as of now, because we have seen a lot of success strategy in combating this disease in last 2 decades. Most of the regions are have eliminated the polio, but eradication is going to be a challenging task. Currently, only 2 countries are considered polio endemic countries. Endemic means where local cases are detected. Even in last year, we had seen only one case of fresh polio cases being detected in these 2 countries. So these polio endemic countries are Pakistan and Afghanistan. So if they continue to strive to get that elusive tag of elimination. India has been a great success story in polio elimination, because India is one of the few countries which was considered to be a polio endemic country, and it has lot of low burden due to its massive population. But India successfully managed to eliminate polio with the help of oral polio vaccine with its door-to-door campaign. So we will be focusing on comparison between oral polio vaccine versus inactivated polio vaccine, because their modes of, you could say, administration and efficacies are quite different, and we have to deploy a different type of techniques, because polio it continues to be part of mission Indradhanush and national immunization program. First of all, let's let me give you some basic facts regarding polio. Polio is an infectious disease which is caused by polio virus, which is a ribovirus. You could say it's a RNA virus, and we have seen that it mainly affects your central nervous system. The spinal cord and the associated nerves are affected, and it results in paralysis, and also it affects respiratory system at times. So the mode of transmission of disease is fecal-oral route. Just like in COVID, we have seen droplet infection. So here, the contaminated food, water are the main reasons through which a polio virus enters from one individual to another. Now, the main part why this disease is dreaded is because there is no cure available till date, and vaccine, which, as we say, prevention is better than cure, is the only hope. So if we go back to the history, the discovery of when the polio was confirmed, it took two major scientists who eventually developed these two prototypes of vaccine. The first major vaccine against polio was an IPV vaccine, inactivated polio vaccine, which was developed by Jonas Salk, US scientist. Eventually, Albert Sabin worked on the more easily compatible version to increase the compliance, which is popularly known as oral polio vaccine. So make sure if you have any question which is saying Sabin vaccine or Salk vaccine, they are typically referring to the polio vaccine itself. Now, the oral polio vaccine, if we look at the benefits in comparison to inactivated polio vaccine, revolves around 5 E's. So I have just, for the sake of mnemonics, simplified the things for you. So if you want to jot that down from mains perspective, there is no harm, because typically this comparison will hold ground for most of the vaccines which are, because currently there are two basic protocols. Either the vaccines are live attenuated vaccine or they are inactivated vaccines. The modified versions we have just discussed in few lectures back, mRNA vaccine is another type of vaccine which is also equally effective. But here we will be focusing on live versus attenuated, and generally these advantages hold true for any live attenuated vaccine. The first and foremost when you are catering to a large population. So it makes prudent sense to make such live attenuated vaccines on a large scale. Eventually, the cost comes out to be economical in their favor. So first of all, any developing country or underdeveloped country which suffer from such diseases, it's always prudent to manufacture them on large scale so that eventually the cost is borne by state. Secondly, the main advantage which made polio vaccine popular was the mode of administration. In inactivated polio vaccine, it used to be injected through you could say needle, and a lot of people had needle phobia, or you could say injection phobia. We all have certain degree of traumatic experience during early childhood, while some or the other vaccine like diphtheria, produces tetanus are being administered through injectable route. So basically, to overcome that stigma and to increase vaccine penetration, in this way their only drops are given. So basically it makes this vaccine easy to administer on any ground. That's another separate story, that child or infant does not typically enjoy this vaccine mode either. Then coming to the third major advantage, it provides effective mucosal immune response. In simple terms, we can say once the virus strain, which is weakened and the pathogenous part is removed and it's administered in the body, your immune system gets activated and active immune response is produced, which is being referred here as mucosal immune response. And if we compare to passive and active immunity has distinct advantage of being a long-term memory, and it as long as it generates more effective immune response. So basically, the response is going to be a desirable one, because currently the polio strain has three different types. There is type A, type 1, type 2, and type 3. And this oral polio vaccine is, if you give the booster doses and give it multiple times, it is effective against all three strains. Coming to another advantage, it is excellent, considered excellent in prevention of diseases. Once you have been administered live attenuated vaccine, there are very less possibility that you are going to get an active infection from polio, because the immune response is quite strong. And generally, once a person have been successfully immunized, there is no person-to-person transmission. So we can say that the response is quite an effective one in case of live attenuated vaccines. And the final advantage is, comparatively, they are easy to manufacture. We live in biotech era, and to manufacture such technologies is not much of a complication. Most of the pharmaceutical companies or biotech companies are today competent enough to generate such vaccine on short notice on mass scale. So that is something to be proud of our Indian pharmaceutical or biotech sector. So basically, you can see it's a win-win game when oral polio vaccines are being administered. Now, a lot of countries always resort to oral polio vaccine for eliminating polio, but once that phase is achieved, eventually they have to take a step back and revert to the injectable polio vaccines, because we have seen there are two major drawbacks associated with the oral polio vaccines. That at times these vaccines, when being administered, they might give rise to, you could say, vaccine derived paralytic poliomyelitis or vaccine associated paralytic poliomyelitis. I just mentioned the acronyms for your easy memorization. Now, are these two cases? Because we have seen that once these live virus-based vaccines are introduced in the body, we take a precaution to remove the pathogenicity part of virus so that it does not cause the infection. But still, it cannot be ruled out that at times, due to mutation or due to unforeseen situations, in 1 in a million, or you could say 1 in a 10 million, at times this virus may regain its virulence and may result in these anomalies. So basically, there is an element of risk when you are inducing such vaccine in live attenuated vaccines in any individual. The virus, if being virulent, may regain its problem, and it may result in the vaccine-induced poliomyelitis in simple terms. So basically, there is a brief segment of risk associated. Whereas in case of these injectable polio vaccines, these are inactivated viral vaccines. Only the dead part or the totally inactivated part of virus is introduced. In no case whatsoever it can regain its virulence or cause such complications. So basically, injectable phase is the next part of the end game to eradicate virus, because we don't want that any isolated cases, even though frequency is almost negligible, may occur due to this virus and the chain continues. So So basically we are on cusp of that milestone, but a lot of individuals now who are taking it for granted or skipping their vaccines, because in pandemic we have seen the outpatient services being affected. So there was an element that some individuals might not have ventured out and taken this warning seriously. So this is where the more public campaign and active participation from stakeholders is required. So far, India has done well, and there is nothing to worry on in case of polio eradication program. We have already received that certificate, and in Asia also, South Asia, Southeast Asia, along with India, are comparatively polio free. Only major concerns are the travelers from two polio endemic countries at times, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Even a couple of years back, there were similar cases of these from these spots who have traveled to Malawi or African other countries, and they were reported cases. But still, global participation and active response, and you could say the compliance is what is going to make this difference, because like the smallpox success story, which is no longer exists in any part of the world, WHO is committed to eradicate polio by all means. So I hope now you got a fair idea of what exactly is oral and inactivated polio vaccines, and make sure such diseases, whenever they are in news, in whatever they form they are, make sure you revise the basics. What are the system being effective, or the treatment and vaccine available? What is the associated mortality risk associated with this disease? What are the endemic countries where the cases are more prevalent as compared to the rest of the world? And moreover, the historical background, like typically what is the infectious agent? Is it a vector borne or a zoonotic disease, or basically a lifestyle disorder? So all such things once covered, then you can say that you have managed that disease well. So we have, even though the basic part was covered in our class lecture, it's just a value addition for you so that you could update accordingly. So I hope this basic lecture on revision of different types of, you could say the basic two types of vaccine on live and inactivated vaccine is now clear. If you have any specific doubt which you feel has not been addressed, you may ask them in comment section. We will try to get back to you soon. So keep working hard and working towards your civil service dream. In your any difficulty, feel free to connect with our experienced faculty. Thank you very much. Have a nice.